Here are 10 ways you can make your drone footage better. Hey, my name's Jake and I create content here to help solo creators on the go. So I test and review lots of drones, cameras, lenses, other filmmaking equipment, and I give you tips and tutorials on how to use those so you can tell better stories. So if that's something that interests you, consider subscribing. Today I want to run you through 10 different drone moves that you can use on any video using pretty much any drone. Number one is an orbit. I shoot an orbit on pretty much every shoot I go on, whether it's a really big, really wide orbit just to establish the area, or whether it's close to a subject to just give you a little more feel of who or what that subject is in the location. I shoot an orbit on every single shot. Orbits are fairly simple to pull off. You push this stick left or right. I think that's right. I'm all mixed up, that might be backward, and then you do the opposite with this stick. And what you're aiming to do is get the drone to move smoothly around, keeping your subject in the center. Takes a little bit of practice, but with a little bit of time and a little bit of practice, you'll have it down, and an orbit is a shot that looks great on almost anything. Now you get bonus points if you can do an orbit very, very close to something like this here. You get close to a surface or close to something else, and it gives you a lot of feeling of motion, a lot of feeling of parallax, and it gives your footage a really nice, really cinematic feel. Alternate your speed, get really fast orbits, alternate to a really slow orbit where it has just a really smooth amount of motion. But having your drone orbit around a subject will add a lot of cinematic movement to your drone shots. Top-down shots are something I shoot a lot because it gives you a perspective that we do not see in ordinary everyday life. Now sometimes it depends on location or subject material, but a top-down shot will give you a very interesting feeling and just something that's different. Now the trick here is to not be too far away and to not be too close to your subject. You generally want to get them within a third or so, but then the nice thing is you can also do a top-down shot where you're tracking with your subject, moving with the subject the same speed, or you can have your subject kind of move through the frame where the drone is not actually moving, but your subject is. And either one will give you a different feel, but top-down shots are really a great shot to add to your shot repertoire, I guess. And yeah, I don't have any bonus points on this one. Then we come to dolly or truck shots, which is where the drone is just moving left or right. And that's where you want to use this stick here, the one on the right, and you just push it left or push it right. You don't move anything else. Truck shots just simply move the drone to the left or to the right. Now you can have your subject either come into and then move out of frame with a truck shot, or you can have them stay in the frame, but the truck shot can overtake them or go slightly slower than them. But basically with a truck shot going left or right, you want to have just some extra movement in the frame to give your footage that little bit of extra interest and a little bit of extra thing that will engage your audience. Now you can absolutely get bonus points if you can truck shot or truck behind something where something moves between you and your subject, like a tree or a rock or something like that. That will add a lot more interest to your shot. So bonus points if you can truck shot behind something and between you and your subject. Then we come to dolly push in, push out shots, which is exactly what it sounds like. You're gonna take this stick here, you're gonna push it forward, and you're gonna pull it backward depending on which direction you wanna go. You can push past a subject, or you can pull back past the subject to reveal your subject. But the idea is it just gives you a little bit of motion, and you can do it in pretty much any situation, whether you're doing a really big establishing shot or you're doing something that's a little closer and revealing your subject in that location. A push in, push out shot is a really simple way you can add interest to some of those really big, wide establishing shots because it adds just a little bit of movement and a little bit of motion to what would otherwise be a static and boring shot. Here again, bonus points if you come close to something and have it come through the frame as you're flying backward or forward. The jib up or the jib down shot or crane up, crane down shot is just exactly that. You're starting low and you're just raising the drone up, and then you're starting high and then bringing the drone down. And that's all it is. It's very simple, but especially if you reveal something behind, come up from behind a building, or in this case, maybe a rock or something like that, it's gonna add a lot of really cool reveal to your shot and keep people interested and really reveal a lot of information as the drone goes. Another really simple shot that you can do is dolly left or right, truck left or right, or push in, push out, but then add a pan. And this is where we're gonna start getting into multiple axes of movement at the same time. And so if you push in, push out, or if you dolly left or dolly right, and then you add a pan either in the same direction you're moving or in the opposite direction, it can really reveal a lot of information and keep people very interested in what you're showing them as your drone shot goes on. Adding motion to a crane or a jib shot really adds a lot more depth and a lot more interest to that shot. So instead of just going straight up or straight down, those shots have their place, but now add some gimbal motion to that and you have a completely different feeling shot that reveals a lot more information to your audience as that shot progresses. Now the way to do that is obviously push down so you lose altitude, or push up if you want to gain altitude, and then roll the gimbal dial here and try and get it so that it's at the same speed. So your subject stays exactly in the same spot in the screen as where you start with and where you end with, and that'll give it a really cool vertical parallax feeling. Then we come to combining gimbal movement to all of those. In other words, when you're doing an orbit left or right, you're also adding altitude change up or down, and then you're adding gimbal movement to that same motion so that the parallax becomes extremely strong. The effect, the change, the information that's being revealed becomes extremely powerful to your audience. The way to do that is, obviously, if you're gonna orbit, you do the orbit, which takes some practice, and then adding the gimbal motion in the same speed. The idea is to keep your subject in the same spot in the frame as you orbit or move around them so that there's a whole bunch more stuff being revealed, and it will add a ton of cinematic movement to your drone shots. Doing this takes a lot more practice and a lot more time, but the effort and the energy is totally worth it because of the dynamic motion and movement that you'll end up getting in your shot. Another thing that I do sometimes, depending on the subject material I'm filming, is use active track to be able to take some of the workload off of me. In other words, you can select a subject, active track them, and then move the drone around using your sticks, but it will keep the subject right in the center of frame because it's tracking them. So that can give you the opportunity to make some really cool, very dynamic movements without having to be able to make them all happen on your own manually. Now, I think it's important that you learn to do them manually, but being able to use active track will be able to give you some ways to get shots that you maybe otherwise ordinarily just couldn't get any other way. So use active track if your drone has it to be able to get those dynamic, odd, sort of moving, super motion, super parallax shots, footage, and give your drone footage some really very cool, very interesting, very different feel. Another kind of shot you definitely want to get is the reveal shot, and that's where you move basically any direction from behind something to reveal either your subject or the location that they're in or whatever it is you're filming. But revealing something by moving from behind something is going to add a lot of interest to your shot and keep your audience way more engaged because it just gives you that much more to be curious about and kind of get your audience's mind to be wondering what they're going to see next. This is a bonus tip. If you have a subject that you're filming at a location like this, wear a red jacket or some sort of brightly colored clothing, or do something to try and set your subject apart. Because without this, I'm basically just a little black speck out here on the snow. But with a red jacket, it's something that gives your eyes something to see your subject and sort of find your subject, because we instinctively know that doesn't belong there. That's not a normal color for that particular space. So it draws your audience's eye, or the people who are watching your videos, eye to that subject, and it can be a way to really add some interest to your videos. If you want to learn other ways that you can improve your drone videography and photography, click or tap right there. I put together a playlist, videos like this one. It will take you through and teach you a lot. As always, if you have questions, ask me in the comments below, or join my live stream, which happens most Wednesday nights from 4 p.m. Alaska time or 8 p.m. Eastern. I have a couple of miles to hike out. See you again soon in the next video. Cheers.